Mustangs. Leading off will be the center fielder, Daniel Shuda. Second baseman, Ryan Hawkins, will hit second. Tyler Nee, the shortstop, hits third. The cleanup hitter tonight will be Cam Miller, the DH. In left field will be Trig Browning hitting fifth. Carson Cabbage, the third baseman, hitting sixth tonight. Brock Fowler, the first baseman, hitting seventh. Hitting eighth will be Jacob Vanderhave, the right fielder. And rounding out the lineup, the catcher, Laz Santos. The pitcher for Queen City tonight will be Aiden Christmas. So the lineup again, Shuda, Hawkins, Nee, Miller, Browning, Cabbage, Fowler, Vanderhave, and Santos. Queen City Mustangs are led by coaches Heath McCoy, Wade Leach, Donovan Henkel, and Eli Ellington. Now let's go quickly to the starting lineup for Fort Mill. That'll be leading off and playing third base will be Eli Craddock. Hitting second will be the center fielder, Jonathan Barshow. Gabe Simmons, the shortstop, will hit third. Scott Young in the cleanup position tonight, playing first base. The DH tonight will be Zach Jennings hitting fifth, and he'll be hitting fourth. Seth Hansen, who's on the mound. Drew Brink hitting sixth tonight and playing second base. Hunter Biscuit hitting seventh, and behind the plate, Blake Sanders will be the right fielder hitting eighth, and Drew Indris, the left fielder, hitting ninth. First pitch from Hansen is a ball down low to Daniel Shuda. Exactly. That was a bullet down to the third baseman. And Craddock picked it up nicely. That'll bring up second baseman Ryan Hawkins for Queen City.
Rocket shot from Shuda.
That down on the dirt, ball one. Hansen has bulked up since his days at Nation Ford. Definitely got him in the weight room down at USC Union. Looks like an intimidating figure up there on the mound right now. And Craddock having a little bit of problems with his hand, it looks like.
Well, he did bang it up last night. Yard fairness, he might have
some residual on that.
Yeah, I do believe that it's his wrist on his glove side. And a line drive like that, sometimes if it's hit hard enough, it hits the webbing of the glove, it'll twist that.
Pull your wrist. Yeah. Good to see him in the lineup. That ball right up the middle. Gabe Simmons gives it a run, and it gets just past him under the glove for the first base runner of the night for Queen City.
And Hawkins is one of those players where when he's on your side, you love him. He's on the other side, you're like, man, this guy's killing us.
Oh, yes, that's for sure. That'll bring up the shortstop, Tyler Nee. Again, Florence took a 5-2 lead going into the fourth inning, and we thought that Doomsday was on the way for Queen City, but they rallied back for 5 of their own and took the lead and never relinquished the ball up high, ball one.
I really thought that's when Florence was going to turn this through. And the art of fairness and full transparency, I really did. Hey, hats off to the Queen City Mustangs. They said, no, I don't think so.
And you're right about that, because that's what they've been doing all tournaments on here all season long. For that matter, if Conway is across your chest, then Lawrence is probably annihilated at some point.
Yeah, they tend to run the first two opponents in this tournament. They won their first game 15-15. They won their second game in a walk-off 11-1.
2-0 count to Tyler Nee. Outside ball 3.
And these young men from Queen City just up the road in Charlotte had City boys written across their chest, and they basically said, hey, we're City strong. They did. They put up a big-time fight, and honestly and truly, a lot of live outs. Runner takes off second, and the ball is the outside the zone, ball 4. So after getting the first man out on the line drive, it's a single walk for Cam Miller.
Cam Miller standing in there. He is the tall water right there. We've seen some big kids in this tournament so far. I'd say Cam Miller is one of the top 5. Opposing figure in the box. Pitch from Hanson.
So
Down in the dirt.
A broadcast buddy of mine, the incompetent hires a friend of mine. He does high school football, OTS that works at RHI. We're blessed to be part of that program. But he famously said on the years ago, he was talking about big guys. And he said, make sure everybody understands I'm talking like weight, not little Debbie.
Exactly. These guys are all athletes for sure. Stays outside of ball too.
And that hires is about a guy who can praise. There's your champion right there.
I can assure you, nobody's mistake Cam Miller as a Pillsbury Doughboy. No, he is solid and strong.
This kid goes out there, has a talk with Seth Hanson.
Miller gets back in the box and then gets back behind the dish. He probably went out there and said, hey, nothing funny, because Miller will put it on the wall if you do throw something funny.
It's a great point. They don't get cute here. Pop it in there and let them see what they can do with it. If they barrel it up, that's what they do.
2-0. And just as I imagine, he hits a towering fly ball that's going to get over Indris' head, and it's fair.
It's a fair ball. And it was inches fair.
And Gabe losing homer.
Not a good decision. He's out by a mile.
Sorry, great relay. No problem. Great relay from Indris to Gabe Simmons. Fired a bullet to Biscuit. And that'll be out number 2.
So in a very bizarre way, that'll go down as a single, and then a put out that will go 7 to 6 to 2. Happens all the time. Here's Brown
all the time. So big out right there for Seth Hanson as the ball gets out into the corner, and Indris makes a nice play, letting it pop up on one hop and fires a strike to Gabe Simmons, who relays it easily home. And Miller gets down to second on the throw. Here's the pitch. Down in the dirt. Nice stop by Biscay.
Were you a little surprised the third base coach gave him the green light?
A little bit, especially given the fact that Indris threw an absolute strike to Simmons, who was standing right there at third base, almost when Hawkins was rounding the bag.
Gabe had to have been thinking, are y'all serious right now? Everybody's yelling 4-4-4. Where's the joke?
He's probably also thinking, man, I've got all day to throw this thing. Let's not mess this one up.
And by the way, it warms my heart to see Eli and Gabe in there, because both of those young men had the snot beat out of them last night. Gabe took a pitch off the hands, and Eli going into second hurt his wrist. So both those guys playing hurt, but thankfully they're not injured. And you see how gutty they are. Okay, I'm good enough to put this jersey on. By God, I'm good enough to go out there and play.
100%. Eli looks like he's shaking off the cobwebs a little bit. Gabe seems fine. I talked to him after the game last night, and he seemed in good spirits.
He was Gabe.
That's right.
Gabe being Gabe.
A 3-0 pitch, ball 4-ball walk.
And if you know him, Gabe Simmons, Gabe's going to Gabe. That's just the way it is. Here's Cabbage.
This is for the Mustangs, third baseman number 22, Carson Cabbage.
And out comes Jonathan Romano to come have a talk with Seth Hanson again. Cabbage built like a brick house. You want to be careful when you're pitching to him. Met Carson's parents in downtown Fort Mill a little while ago. Very nice people. Enjoyed having a conversation with them. And their Carson's dad, they actually have, they're twins, Carson and Maddox Cabbage. Their dad is actually the head golf coach at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. So that was kind of fun to learn.
4.
Yeah, well, that's me all the time. I'm definitely shanking into the woods all day long.
Anytime somebody used to say that on the golf course, and I used to be able to play golf, well, that's a lie. Before my back surgery, I played golf. I was horrible at it.
Well, you may have played golf. I played goof.
Goof?
Yep.
Well, you know they say 4 in golf, right? That's how many balls I would lose on the first 2 holes.
Ball 1 low to Carson Cabbage. Nice crowd so far here for a Saturday night at Fort Mill High School. Thank you for supporting American Legion Baseball. 1-0. That's down in the dirt ball, too, as well. He's just missing it. He's getting it over the plate, but just not enough altitude.
What I found interesting was that there was action in the Fort Mill pen, but that has ceased.
JR down there threatening, I guess. That one catches the corner for a strike, although that one looked more of a ball than the last couple of pitches.
Well, the gentleman behind the plate is a college level umpire. He's been around the block a time or 12.
Swing and a miss to even the count of 2-2.
And nobody's madder at himself than Cabbage is right there. That was a pitch nowhere near a strike, and he decided before the pitch was thrown he was hacking.
He was. The 2-2. He hammers it down to third base, and Eli can't glove it. And here comes the relay, and they're not going to try that again. But 1-0 Mustangs.
And now how big is that put out at home? Would have made it 2-0, maybe even 3.
And you're probably looking at a
Next up for the QC, the first baseman number 18, Brock Fowler.
looking at some windmills out there from the third base coach, and that brings up the first baseman Brock Fowler. And this time the number's correct on the lineup card. He was number 10 during the first game, and we couldn't figure out who he was, and now he's number 18, fortunately. Pitch from Hansen. Towering fly ball. Biscay gives it a run. Eli gives it a run. Eli grabs it for out number 3.
Mustangs pick up 1 run on the back of 3 base hits, no errors. Bases left loaded. We head to the bottom of the first inning. Queen City 1, Fort Mill coming up.
As you heard JT say, 1 run on 3 hits, no errors, and 3 men left on base. We head to the bottom of the first inning with your score. Queen City 1 and Fort Mill coming to bat. You're listening to the American Legion North Carolina, South Carolina Baseball Challenge here on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. And we head to the bottom half of the first inning with Queen City striking first. They're up 1-0. The leadoff hitter for Fort Mill will be the third baseman, Eli Craddock. First pitch to him from Aiden Christmas is outside for a ball. Looks like Christmas has a little bit of fire on his fastball. The 1-0. Down low, ball 2. Eli got banged up a little bit last night. He jammed his wrist down at second base, sliding in head first, but he seems to be okay. And he hits one down to third base, and that thing will be gloved by Cabbage, who throws over to first base in time for out number one.
Walking the plate for Fort Mill Post 43. Center fielder number 8, Jonathan Marshall.
Jonathan Barshow comes to the plate for post 43. This guy's had a hot bat as of late, becoming one of my favorite guys to watch out here, and he swings and misses strike one. Of course, they're all my favorites, but Barshow's one of those guys that I just don't get to see a whole heck of a lot since he's with Catawba Ridge, but always a pleasure. And he's sneaky good, if that makes any sense. Catches the outside corner for strike two. And you got to feel pretty comfortable if you're Barshow up at the plate right now because you've got Gabe Simmons behind you. So you got to pick your poison if you're Aiden Christmas right now. 2-2 pitch. Curveball outside, runs it full. That was. The 3-2 pitch. Checks the swing, and he says he didn't go around, although to me that looked like a ball, honestly. But we'll take it any way we can get it, and that brings up Gabe Simmons.
Walking the plate for Fort Mill Post 43, the shortstop number 3, Gabe Simmons.
Gabe Simmons comes to the plate. Of course, one of my guys at Nation Ford, and it's going to be really strange not seeing him on the field next year after being there for 4 years. He was. And he's a heck of a player, and he's one of the most entertaining baseball players I've ever met in my life. He is, and he doesn't look like the biggest kid out there, but yeah, he's definitely a strong guy. Let me go, please. The 1-1. That curveball drops right in there. Count 1 and 2, and Gabe wants to know where that one was. He's not afraid to ask the umpire why that was a strike. He's not going to argue with him, but he just wants to know. So he's taking mental notes to be able to figure out what he needs to be looking for. The 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3, and that'll be out number 2 here in the bottom half of the first inning. Scott Young, the first baseman, comes to the plate, and he's going to need to get a big 2-out hit here in the bottom of the first if they want to attempt to tie or take the lead here over the Queen City Mustangs. Scott stands in there. The pitch. Upstairs for ball 1. It definitely was right down the middle. 1-0 pitch. That stays outside. Ball 2 now on Scott Young. And he didn't. He does. Like that. Right down Tom Hall Street for strike 1. And Young crushes it in the right field. I think the ballpark will keep it, and it does. A nice play out there against the wall by the right fielder. Jacob Vanderhave makes the catch to end the inning. And Fort Mill will have to wait till the second inning to try and strike back at Queen City. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here from Fort Mill High School, and you're listening to it on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Jacob Vanderhave and Laz Santos and back to the top of the lineup for the Queen City Mustangs here. They're up 1-0 here in the top of the second inning. Seth Hansen back on the mound for inning number 2 here for Fort Mill Post 43. Athletic Director Matt Banks roaming around the premises with his camera right now. He's doing double duty as the athletic director and also having to write articles about these games. That ball stays high for ball 1. The wind is a still here at Fort Mill High School. That ball's way up in the air. It's going to be between Brink Simmons and center fielder Zach Jennings, and it's going to be Jennings for the putout for out number 1. Oh, it is Barshaw, yes. Sorry about that. Oops. He is. Oh, that's right. He's the DH tonight. That'll bring up the catcher, Laz Santos. And we joke around about Gabe Simmons being the flashy guy and entertaining, and I have a feeling that this Laz Santos is that guy for Queen City. Ball 1 up high. Just looking at him walking around, and you can kind of tell a lot about a person by their demeanor as they're walking through an area. Catches the outside corner for a strike, 1-1. That's right. Just look at me. I'm growing through the top of my head. The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss for strike 3. First strikeout of the night for Seth Hansen, and out number 2 here in the top of the second. Back to the top of the lineup. Daniel Shuda, center field lined to Eli at third base back in the first inning. And it was a bullet. That ball is fouled back. Strike 1. Ball outside. Hansen looks nice and relaxed out there on the mound. Talked to his dad and my neighbor Bob Hansen before the game, and they're doing very well. Good to see them as usual. That ball hits the strike zone a little bit high, but we'll take it 1-2. He is the OG. Indeed, he is. He is the original house in our neighborhood, and he's still there. I'm still there. There's only 3 of us left down in the dirt. Yes, yes. Hence our down A.O. Jones Boulevard for a strike. Deuces are wild here, and here comes the pitch from Hanson. Up high for ball three. We do indeed. And ball four to Daniel Shuda. No, it isn't. I'll bring up the second baseman, Ryan Dawkins, to piggyback on what you said. Been getting a lot of good feedback myself, and it's really welcome. We really appreciate all the kind words that you have. We're sitting here, a couple old dudes doing the best we can. There's a pitch, and he's off and running. Busquet throws it down, but not in time. Ball bounces in front of Shuda, and he's not. Gabe and Eli aren't the only guys that are taking a couple of balls off the wrist here during this tournament. He's bouncer to Drew Brink at second, and he throws over to Scott Young to retire the side. No runs, no hits, no errors, and no men left on base. We head to the bottom of the second inning with your score: Queen City 1, Fort Mill nothing. You're listening to the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge live from Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Bottom of the second coming here, Aiden Christmas completing his warm-up tosses for the Queen City Mustangs. And he will face Drew Indris Zach Jennings, I'm sorry, the DH here in the bottom half of the second. Jennings, Drew Brink, and Hunter Busquet.
This is hitter number 5, Zach Jennings.
And here comes Zach. As I mentioned in my gaff in the top half of the second inning, I thought he was out in center field, but he isn't. First pitch. And he hits a sky ball to the right side. The first baseman, Cabbage, is over there, and he'll make the play. Actually, that's not Cabbage. That is Brock Fowler.
Wanting to play for Fort Mill, second baseman number 1, Drew Brink.
Drew Brink comes to the plate for the first time tonight here in the bottom of the second. The left-handed hitting second baseman stands in there, waits the first pitch from Aiden Christmas, and here it is. Catches the outside corner, but not called a strike.
The gentleman behind the plate usually will give you North and south, not necessarily east and west.
Okay. Well, that second pitch was nowhere near. That runs the count to
Yes.
2-0.
And you'll hear the term more of an actual strike zone, where a lot of times in high school and college baseball, they'll give you that half a ball width or maybe a full ball width off the corner. This particular gentleman, it's more in the box, so to speak.
And Christmas is missing outside multiple times here against Brink. 3-1 now the count.
But hey, if he wants to walk the Hawk Brink, be my guest.
And he
There it
does.
is.
And that'll bring up the catcher, Hunter Biscay.
One to the plate for Fort Mill, post 43, the catcher number 12, Hunter Biscay.
Biscuit stands in there. Also quickly becoming one of my favorites. He beat the snot out of us during our series against Clover this season. So it's always nice to be able to see him on our side for a change.
And I want to say hello to Biscuit's mom and dad. Appreciate all their support as well.
And he hammers that ball out into right center field. That's going to get Brink over to the third easily. Here comes the throw. It's going to be a tight play. And Brink gets in there under the tag, and the ball gets away anyway.
And by the way, heads
Biscuit.
up to Biscuit for taking second base on the throw. Well done.
Absolutely. And, of course, that will bring in a courtesy runner, and I can't see that far out. Looks like,
Courtesy runner for Fort Mill, post 43, number 9, Jager Pankowski.
Jager out there. Going to get some speed on the base paths. Nice piece of hitting there by Biscay.
Fielder number 7, Blake Sanders.
That brings us to Blake Sanders, who has an opportunity to put Fort Mill in the lead with one stroke of the bat here. Runners at second and third with nobody out. Fort Mill is now in business. Christmas looks in. He's pitching from the windup, and that ball's down low for ball one.
It is more of a field preference, and I've noticed that with a lot of pitchers. We saw it earlier this afternoon, bases loaded, and about half and half. Half of them stayed in the stretch, half of them went back to the windup.
That catches the outside corner for a strike, and it. Christmas's delivery is almost like a sweeping.
That's a great way to describe it. It actually is. I've been trying to figure out how to describe it. It's just kind of out here.
Strike two right in the eyeballs there of Mr. Sanders. So quickly in the hole 1 and 2.
And if you're Blake, you want to, at the very least, try to get something you can lift. Try to get that runner in from third with this Brink.
And it looks like the ball's going to stay on that right side, so it might behoove Big 50 Cent word Blake to try and slap that ball through to the right side. There's a lot of space between the first baseman and first base. It gets away, and that's going to score the first run for Fort Mill, and that'll move Jager over to third base. And it's now 3 and 2, and Fort Mill scores their first run of the night on a wild pitch by Aiden Christmas.
Yeah, that was a gift. So now the job for Blake Sanders basically stays the same.
It does.
As strange as that sounds, because normally when a runner moves up like that, it changes, but not in this situation.
Same objective. The 3-2 up the stairs for ball 4. Runners at the corners with nobody out here in the bottom of the second inning.
Now batting for Fort Mill, the left fielder number 6, Drew Indris.
Drew Indris steps up to the plate. The left fielder. The catcher giving his signals for the first and third play, and that's something you see a lot in high school baseball, but I haven't seen a whole lot of it here during Legion, during this tournament at least, of giving signals on a first and third. So in the big leagues, you don't see steals that much from the first and third situation because the catchers are so good. That ball catches the outside corner for a strike, strike one.
Drew Indris, not exactly a fan of the call.
Rightfully so. These guys have got to figure out what the strike zone is with this gentleman behind the plate. The 0-1, the catcher sets up outside, and that almost gets away. And Christmas looks like he's overthrowing a little bit.
Yeah, Fort Mill's going to take advantage. Now is the time to strike.
tied the game at 1. This is a powerful offense by the Queen City Mustangs. We saw that earlier this afternoon against Florence post 1 against a very good staff, and they put up crooked numbers.
Good idea by Endress to go to the right side, but foul.
And he actually choked up on the bat with 1 strike. You're
did.
right, Keith. He was trying to take a shot that way. He's just trying to get anything to go to the right side and get Cheese in from third.
Mankowski takes his lead down there. The 1-2. Off and running, and they fake down there into third base, and it goes out in the left field, and that'll score Cheese, and then it'll be 2-1 Fort Mill.
Another gift.
2 gifts by Queen City here in the bottom of the second, and the P43s are now in the lead 2-1.
So my question is, E5, because the throw was on the pillow, and the third baseman was trying to catch it and apply the tag in a simultaneous motion there, and that's what cost him. He got a little too quick, and the ball just kind of trickled out of his glove. That's what I'm going to go with.
Called strike 3 for out number 1. Endress goes down on strikes, but not before 2 runs score on his watch.
Back to the top of the order for Fort Mill and third baseman number 10, Eli Craddock.
Eli comes to the mound. Eli Craddock, 2 outs here with a runner at second base. He's ready. Here's the pitch. Catches the outside corner for a strike. Fort Mill looking to tack on 1 more run here in the bottom of the second. Here's the pitch. Curveball drops right over for strike 2.
That's just disgusting.
Eli didn't know what to make of that pitch.
Neither do I.
Christmas looks in for the sign. Eli's getting ready to see the 0-2 pitch right now. Tried to go on that outside corner again, but misses slightly for ball 1.
And Drew Endress taking liberties out there at second base. And I can't say that I blame him because he's looking over his shoulder, both right and left. He knows the shortstop has to stay in his spot because it's a right-handed batter. So he knows the second baseman is playing peekaboo out there. So he's keeping his head on a swivel. But his secondary lead is about as big as you're going to get.
Swing and a miss by Eli, and that will end inning number 2.
Fort Mill picks up 2 runs on back of 1 hit, 1 error, and a man left. We head to inning number 3, but a change in your score. It's now Fort Mill 2, Queen City 1.
2 runs, 1 hit, 1 error, 1 man left on base. We head to the top of the third inning with the score Fort Mill 2 and the Queen City 1. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge from Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back. Seth Hansen to work his third inning here in the game. And he'll face Tyler Nee, Cam Miller, and Trick Browning here in the top of the third inning. Tyler Nee, the shortstop, up to the plate.
Stop talking over Keith. I promise.
It's all good.
I swore. You can swear, you just can't swar.
Swar. And he hammers that foul off to the batting facility for strike one.
Tyler Nee walked back in the first inning, came around to score the only run for the Mustangs, and that was on the RBI base knock by Cabbage.
Hanson throws that one a little bit high to even the count. Good crowd out here. The Queen City folks are back for game number 2. Ball's up high, 2-1.
It sounded like a broken record, but we're just not used to seeing Seth Hansen miss with the old gas.
Right.
Just the old number one. Normally he is a master at that, and everything else works off of the fastball.
And they foul that one back, 2-2. It almost looks like he's releasing the ball a little too high because he's been missing up high a lot and out to the outside as well. So hopefully he'll correct that. 2-2 pitch. Up high, ball 3, and that time it was outside and high.
I'm wondering if the ladies like the jersey that's unbuttoned. I mean, it doesn't even say Fort Mill. It says Fall, F-O-L-L. That's all you can see.
He hammers that down to Eli, who puts a glove on it but can't hold on.
That's got to be a base hit.
That'll be a base hit for Queen City, and that brings up the DH Cam Miller.
Up batting the designated hitter number 25, Cam Miller.
And yeah, that has to be a base hit. It was remarkable that he was able to get the ball by the glove anyway.
If it's Major League Baseball, you could have that conversation, but
we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. And that's a long fly ball to left field. Endress looks up, and that ball's out of here.
That was a no-doubter. As soon as it left the bat, I was like, just kind of be off the top of the wall maybe, but alas, not to be.
And when we saw Cam Miller come up to the plate, we were remarking about his size, and it reminded me a lot of Florence's player Shamar Symes. It's just one of those guys, he's got it in him.
The left fielder number 10, Trig Browning.
And he definitely left no doubt on that one right there.
And Cam Miller now 2 for 2 in tonight's ball game, so his hot streak continues.
Left fielder Trig Browning comes to the plate, and with his team now up 3-2, a little seesaw battle here at the Hive. Hansen shrugs his shoulders off, and here comes the pitch. Curveball way upstairs for ball 1. There's some activity in the Fort Mill bullpen. Nothing real serious yet.
It's Kyle Knoll. There's only 2 guys on this team that are skyscrapers, and both of them are from Indian Land.
Beautiful curveball there for strike number 1.
You have Kyle Knoll. You have Miles Corcoran. And Miles is stockier than Kyle.
So that's Kyle. He is definitely a skyscraper. That ball up high, ball 2. And again, the fastball just not staying down for Hansen right now.
But I'll say this about Kyle Knoll. He is a very polite, very friendly young man. He is just, he'll talk to anybody. He's just easy to talk to. He's always asking, how do I get better? What can I do here? What have you seen there? Just an inquisitive young man out of Indian Land High School, like we said. He now calls Erskine home.
His brother James plays on the junior team for us. That ball almost hits him, but it's ball 4. Leadoff man aboard for, well, not leadoff man, but the leadoff man after that bomb over left field aboard with nobody out.
Third baseman number 22, Carson Cabbage.
That brings up Carson Cabbage for the second time tonight. Runner at first base, nobody out here in the top of the third. Queen City has retaken the lead 3-2.
And I've been doing such a good job all day long of keeping myself out of knots with all these wires draped all over my person.
And that's a long fly ball as well, but Endress will get under that easily for out number 1.
Just missed it. That could have been a 2-run ding dong.
He did miss it. He skied it, got under it. Long fly ball for out number one.
Mustangs, first baseman number 18, Brock Fowler.
Brings us to Brock Fowler with one out here in the top of the third inning.
And what I love about this time of the year is what we're seeing down below us. You have the Pankowskis, there's John Jennings, there's the Ross family from Nation Ford, Fort Mill people, there's the Christ or Mr. Christ down here. I think it's Ben, right? Ben Christ is down here to our left talking to Cheese's dad, Jared. So where I'm going with this is you have three rival air quote schools, but all the parents know each other, and by and large, they all like each other.
That is correct. Texas swing. The umpire says he did go around. I didn't think he did, but we'll take that. 1-1 the count.
The gentleman at first base strenuously objected.
1-1 the count to Fowler. Hanson gets set. He delivers the pitch. And he went around on that one for sure.
I think he did. He did.
1-2 now the count.
If the previous one was, that one definitely had to be. And the Queen City fans are none too pleased. And that's one of those things that's a subjective call, and you'll hear fan bases get annoyed at that because they're so used to it being not a swing.
That's down in the dirt ball, too.
And even sometimes where you think it's a surefire that the player went around and the umpire will say not a swing. And I could go into what they're looking for because I got to explain to me down at the CAA championships by some mid-major college umpires, and they said exactly what you're looking for in that situation. And it's pretty specific stuff.
Swing and a miss, and he's off and running. Busquet throws it, and it gets out into center field. And Barshaw will just have to eat it there. The runner gets down to third base, but that'll be out number 2.
And that'll go as a stolen base and an error.
And that'll bring up the right fielder, Jacob Vanderhave.
Now batting the right fielder, number 19, Jacob Vanderhave.
And Queen City's not wanting to stop with a 1-run lead right now. Vanderhave steps in there to try to pad that lead a little bit here in the top of the third. Swing and a miss. He had a home run cut on that one. But Hanson gave him the old Linda Ronstadt.
A little
Blue by you.
Blue by you, baby.
And it looks like he's starting to gather his fastball a little bit better, coming over the top with it, and that makes it 0-2 after the foul off by Vanderhave.
And for those who are new to our broadcasting, Bayou is not B-A-Y-O-U, it's B-Y-Y-O-U. Bayou, as in fastball. Or let me say it a different way, and this is compliments of Braden Plyler, as we all know and love. He goes, that pitch is Louisiana, Bayou, Bayou. I love Plyler.
Yeah, me too. 0-2 pitch.
Despite the fact that he's a fan of the Florida State Seminoles. We're willing to overlook that, Braden.
J.D. Schumacher, who used to play for Nation Ford's a big Florida State fan, and he and Stosh would go back and forth on Twitter with insults.
Oh, I love – man, I tell you, if you want a good time, watch or follow Stosh on Twitter.
Down in the dirt, did he go? He did. Strike 3, and that'll end the inning. Strikeout number 2 for Seth Hansen. But not before Queen City scores 2 runs on 2 hits. There was 1 error and a man left. Queen City now leads 3-2 over Fort Mill. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American League Baseball Challenge here from Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Radio Network. We'll be right back. Jonathan Barshow, Gabe Simmons, and Scott Young due up here in the bottom of the third inning with Queen City leading Fort Mill Post 43 3-2 here in the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge. Thanks to everybody that is tuning in to listen to us here on the radio and on the YouTube. Barshow stands in there, and Aiden Christmas throws it down to the dirt, ball one.
And for some reason, I was out in La La Land somewhere, and the pitcher was ready to go, and Barshow was ready to go. And usually I'm Johnny on the spot with that stuff. I usually watch him out of a peripheral vision, but Barshow must be a stealth bomber because he got below the radar.
It's been a long day, my friend. 1-1 pitch.
That it has.
Up high, ball two.
You know how I roll. I'm not usually a fan of excuses, so
Me neither.
it's the old guy in me and the baseball coach in me, I think. It's a bad combination.
Barshow fouls that off to the right side. 2-2 the count.
And the thing that's interesting about Jonathan and talking to him, he's slender, right? And that's not I'm not knocking him at all.
Right.
But where I'm going with it is he's a whole lot stronger than you would think by looking at his stature.
He has really good bat speed, although that was kind of a pitching wedge onto the green there. Line out to the first baseman. That'll bring up Gabe Simmons.
The shortstop, number 3, Gabe Simmons.
Gabe Simmons up for the second time tonight. He hammers it up the middle. That's going to be a tough play for the shortstop, but he gets it over, wings it over there, and fires him out for out number 2. Gabe was motoring down the line, but just could not get there in time.
Put a star by that one. 360 and still gunned out a quick base runner.
That'll bring us the first baseman, Scott Young.
Batting for Fort Mill, first baseman number 24, Scott Young.
Scott Young, the final hope in inning number 3 for Fort Mill with 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. Swing and a miss. He had a home run cut, but just missed it. Scott and Seth Hansen are teammates down at Union.
The Fighting Bantams.
That ball stays over high enough for strike 2. Scott didn't like it.
And as a catcher, he's got a really good idea of what the strike zone is.
The 0-2 checks his swing, and the umpire calls him out.
Yep. He's been consistent.
No runs, no hits, no errors. In the bottom of the third, we head to the top of the fourth inning. The score remains Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Challenge on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back. Kyle Knoll, the new Fort Mill pitcher. Seth Hansen went 3 innings and gave up 3 runs. And Kyle Knoll, a graduate of Indian Land High School. His brother James plays on the juniors team for the team that I regularly broadcast for. Both spectacular young men. Knoll, a tall, lanky drink of water up there on the mound. Kind of hides the ball with his delivery. He kind of cocks the ball at the top of his delivery and then flicks it with the wrist. hard to tell how to pick up what he's throwing there.
Well, he has a four-seam fastball that has arm side movement to it like a lot of left-handers do. But he's always had the slider that comes from way the heck over here and comes all the way back across the plate, right? So it almost looks like it's going to hit a left-hander, and it comes back over the inside corner to a right-handed batter. But what he's really worked on last year with Erskine, the changeup. But he's also worked on every single pitch is out of the same slot, where before he would drop down for different things. Now it's all out of the same slots.
Well, and that's a good thing because when he's going from different slots, a batter can pick up easily what he's doing.
That's correct.
Noel will face, trying to see who that is down there. He'll face Laz Santos, and then back to the top of the lineup with Daniel Shuda and Ryan Hawkins. Santos has a bat in his hand that would probably burn the retina out of most people's eyes. That thing is bright orange.
It is. I think that's a D. Marini as well.
I believe you're right. One of those things where you leave it out in the sun all day long and you could hit with it at night with the lights off.
Yeah, it's not Clemson orange. It's not Florida orange. It's not Tennessee orange. It's like going out and hunting orange.
Pitch from Noel. Check swing. Did he go? He did. Strike one. 3 more games tomorrow here from the Hive. Fort Mill will get the nightcap again at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon. The 0-1 pitch. That looked like a strike, but it was a little bit low, ball one. Cherville and Florence are finished for the tournament. Cherville went 0 for 3. Florence went 2-1. 1-1. Swing and a miss, fouled off by Santos, 1-2. So Davidson County, Rock Hill, the same Queen City Mustangs, and your Fort Mill P43s will be back in action tomorrow on Father's Day. The 1-2 down to the dirt ball tube.
I think it took a bite out of the home plate umpire who says he's okay. You saw Biscuit turn around and ask the gentleman if he was good to go, and he said, play ball, youngsters.
Santos did the same thing, and he's the catcher for Queen City, so they have a nice respect for the home plate umpire.
Yeah, it's almost like a nice little fraternity when you get catchers and home plate umpires together because they're brothers in arms in a way.
And he hammers that out in the center field, and that's going to drop in front of Barshow. Leadoff man aboard here for Queen City, and then we get back to the top of the lineup and Daniel Shuda.
And I imagine we'll have a courtesy runner for Santos, but maybe, yes, they're going to call a timeout. There will be a courtesy runner. Just trying to see the youngster's number. I think it's Caleb Tischler. Yep.
Courtesy runner for the Mustangs, number 12, Caleb Tischler. Back to the top of the order for the Mustangs, the center fielder number 20, Daniel Shuda.
Umpire makes his notes in the book, official.
And that's not his list of girlfriends or where his favorite restaurants are.
No,
in
indeed.
case you're wondering.
If
Although it might be. It's not what it's supposed to be. But I'll tell you a little, I'm going to let a cat out of the bag. Pitch just off the inside corner. I learned college umpires, you know how when a play can be challenged or not be challenged and they get together and they have that little huddle really quickly before they decide to initiate a challenge? That serves a purpose. Ball is hit out of play foul right side. And the purpose is this. They get together to say, is the play reviewable? And inside their little book, they have a card, basically a 3x5 index card, front and back, and it tells you all the plays that can be challenged. If it's not on that little card, it can't be challenged. And that's why sometimes you'll see the crew chief go to that card. They're looking to see if the play is eligible to be challenged or not. And so a lot of people, I've heard broadcasters and coaches and fans say, that seems like a waste of time. It actually serves a purpose. But I didn't even know that until the CAA championships. Yeah.
1-1. Fouled away, strike two. Unfortunately, we don't have replay down here at this level, but that would be fun to get under the hood, I guess. Snap throw back over to first base.
And I'll tell you how I found that out. There was a play that was reviewed. The call stood. So my question was twofold. What's the purpose of the little meeting? And then why did the call stand?
Catches the inside corner
Oh,
for strike
that's
three.
nasty. Oh, the umpire took his time ringing him up, and Shoota's like, are you serious?
That'll bring up the second baseman, Ryan
Now
Hawkins.
batting second baseman number 4, Ryan Hawkins.
That was a nasty slider that Noel threw in there to
He
get
can
out
do-
number one.
He can do that. And what ends up happening is the batter gives up on it because they think, no way. And they got him picked
Oh,
off, but
no.
the throw is terrible. But the base runner fell down and face planted. That's actually a break for Fort Mill in a way, but the ball goes into the
It's a
fence. It
ground
goes
rule.
over and it went under the fence. So that will go as an E1. It'll be a two-base error because the ball went out of play. And they're going to actually ask the base runner to go back to the bag. I think he's supposed to go to third, isn't he? No, they're going to put him back at second.
They're going to put him back at second because he wasn't making a move halfway down the line to second base. He was kind of caught trapped.
So in other words, he hadn't taken second base at the time, so he
Mhm.
doesn't get the extra 90, is what you're saying?
Right.
Is that okay? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Now the umpires are going to get together,
And maybe they'll
With-
overturn that.
with the coach. I think that's Heath McKay, third base coach's box for the Queen City Mustangs. And they had fans tuning into our broadcast, Keith, and I didn't know whether to tell their assistant coach thank you or apologies. I wasn't
Well, he
quite sure
came
where to
up
go with
and
that.
talked to me for quite a while and said he appreciated what we were doing,
Ah, cool.
and
Like it.
also asked if we do this regularly for both teams. I said we most certainly do, home and away.
We
Although I've
do-
missed two away games this season, and we lost them both, so Coach Lewis is not going to allow me
You're
to.
no longer allowed back in the yard.
I have to go on the road from here on out, which I'm fine with.
And by the way, you're not the only one in that boat. There is a player's parent who the players have said can no longer come to games because he's shown up 3 times and Fort Mill took the L all 3 times. So he is resting comfortably, I assume, in his lazy boy with a nice cold one. Color me jealous.
Without a doubt,
I'd
there.
love to trade places with you, brother, because I love this game, man. I'm tired of sitting in this chair, though. I ain't gonna lie to you.
The 1-0 almost hits him ball two.
Been here since 9 o'clock this morning, and this is going on, let's see, 5, 6, and then 7. So that's 18, and we're in the 4th. So this is the 23rd inning of baseball in the last basically 12 hours.
That ball's hammered out into center field, and Barshaw's out there, and he calls for it and makes the catch out number 2.
And I love what I saw right there from Jonathan. He called off the right fielder early, said, I got it. But he turned his shoulders and was in throwing position when he caught the baseball. So the runner at second thought twice about tagging up.
Tyler Nee, the shortstop, comes up.
Tyler Nee.
And they could be a little gun shy after what Indris did with Gabe Simmons back in the first inning.
Outstanding point. That is correct.
Pitch from Noel to Nee. Drops in there for a strike. That was nasty.
That's the changeup.
And the
you see
changeup
this-
had movement.
It did. And when Kyle was talking about it, when I first saw him in tryouts, he was beaming when talking about it. He was trying to curtail his excitement, but you could tell he was pretty jacked up about learning that pitch.
And throws the heater fouled away by Nee. 0-2 quickly the count.
And I think Biscuit and KK were crossed up there. Hunter going out there to make sure he's on the same page with Kyle. Obviously, with a runner out at second base, you don't just put down the usual digits.
No.
You normally flash, most of the time with the signs, it's 5 different numbers in a certain sequence, and then you have to try to figure it out. And if the other team steals your signs, you can look at the base runner and tell pretty quickly if they've got your number or not.
The 0-2 pitch. Hammered down the left field line. Foul.
That bad boy ricocheted off the front of the dugout for the Mustangs. And let's just say there were a few guys hanging over the railing. Not anymore.
Scattered like mice.
They were like, this is a hazardous work environment.
0-2 inside. Biscuit knocks it down to keep the runner at second base. 1-2 the count.
And in the art of fairness, and this is not a knock on Kyle Hall, he'll tell you this, he's a very difficult pitcher to catch because every pitch has so much movement on it, and most catchers are used to this zone and that zone and moving around back there and sliding. So sometimes you get your catcher caught off guard with how much movement you've got.
He hits that a mile in the air. Scott Young giving it a chase. Is it going to stay in play? It does, and that'll retire the side.
No runs for the Mustangs on one base hit, one error, and a man left. We head to the bottom of the fourth inning. Score remains Queen City 3, Bill 2.
No runs, one hit, no errors. One man left on base for the Mustangs, but the score will remain going to the bottom of the fourth inning. The Mustangs 3 and Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge from Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network. Pardon my hesitation there. We'll be right back. Zach Jennings, Drew Brink, and Hunter Busquet due up for Fort Mill Post 43 here in the bottom of the fourth inning. They trail the Queen City Mustangs 3-2 here in the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge.
Bottom of the fourth inning for Fort Mill Post 43. Designated hitter number 5, Zach Jennings.
Zach Jennings comes to the plate. And I love his 70s groove walk-up song. Shows how old I am.
You borderline expect the door to go open and there's a bell that rings and it goes, second floor?
Christmas delivers, and it stays off the outside corner for ball one.
Was it you earlier this year that said the soothing sounds of Muzak?
Maybe.
I think so.
1-0 pitch. And, you know, Muzak was based here in Fort Mill forever.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
down
that
off
right?
Carowinds Boulevard. Yep.
Did not know that. I remember when they put Muzak in the office when I was a banker. Oh,
Yeah. It was everywhere.
and it wasn't, say it this way, there are really great songs that are air quotes soft rock or call strike three. Zach, or he made the strike three, but it's actually only 2-2. That even fooled me. And normally the home plate umpire is sharp as a tack, but
That one
That
could have
one.
been strike three.
it could have been. Good eye by Zach. But where I'm going with it is there are great songs like a Bobby Caldwell song that are really great from that era, but Muzak seemed to pick the ones that were just like, ugh.
Yeah, they did. And I remember when I realized that they were from Fort Mill, I was just shocked. And not only that, but it was a small office from what I understand.
Going to the plate for Fort Mill, the second baseman number 1, Drew Brink.
Drew Brink comes to the plate with the leadoff man aboard with a walk. And yeah, small office for Muzak, but they were anywhere and everywhere.
And really, what ended up, and actually, if I'm being bluntly honest, pitch swung on and missed by Brink. part of the reason the office did that, the credit union that I worked for, the reason they did that is I was one of the offenders. People brought little systems. I had a little, you remember the old, before the iPod Touch, right? The old classic iPod?
Oh yeah.
So I had that with about, I don't know, 1,000 songs on it and had two little portable speakers with just the audio connectors. And I would play anything from country to rock to metal to Kenny G to you name it. And then people saw it and were like, hey, I like that. And then they started doing it. And next thing you know, you walk through the office and about 200 people work in the main office.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have all kinds of stuff going on. And I think the boss's boss got tired of our music selection.
Well, they don't allow that at the.
Actually, I take that back. I think I can't prove it, and I'll never be able to prove it. But I will put my hand on the good book in front of the good Lord above, as Mama B would say. It was our HR director.
Didn't like it, huh?
It was the HR director. I don't think our CEO cared a lick.
Nice bunt by Brink. Throws down to first for out number one, but that'll move the runner over, which he did his job.
That's a gorgeous bunt. That's textbook, y'all.
Biscuit next.
For 4 mil post 43, the catcher number 12, Runner Biscay.
Oh, they won't allow little miniature stereo systems at the Red and Gold Bank where I am employed. So you just got to keep those headphones in at all times.
Starts with a W and ends in a O.
That might be correct if you're playing Wheel of Fortune down the left field line foul 0-1.
Oh, speaking of that, did you see the headline? Pat Sajak retiring.
He is. Wow. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, his I think it's his daughter stepped in for Vanna White. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. My mom was telling me.
Vanna from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
That's
Busquet
right.
puts it down the third base line. That's gonna be a tough play. You're gonna have to eat it. And now he's hung up down at second base and he's out.
Yeah, Brink got a little over anxious there.
So it'll just be Biscuit down at first base, but we'll almost certainly get a pinch runner for him, and indeed we do. And the pinch runner will be
running at first base for 4 mil, number 9, Jager Pankowski.
Jager Pankowski, cheese
Now
out there.
4 mil, number 7, Blake Sanders.
Blake Sanders, the right fielder, steps in there with 2 outs.
And actually, I said Drew Brink. My apologies. Zach Jennings was the one who ventured a little too far to second
Brink
base bag.
punted that down.
And in that situation, if you're a runner at second, anytime the ball is hit to your right, you have to read the situation. And right there, he waited for the ball to be fair. That ball caroms off the glove of the catcher all the way to the backstop. So Cheese Ball will just boogie on into second. Well, thank you very much. And so that'll go as a single, by the way, and the out will be recorded. It will go 5-6 on the put out. But in that situation, and we saw it earlier today with Florence, actually, where they stayed at second base despite the fact it was a base hit because it was hit to that side of the infield.
Right. The 1-0 outside for ball 2.
And I would like to point out to one of our players' fathers who claimed their son was in a slump. Said son is 2 for 2 tonight. I will repeat myself. What slump? Hashtag fake news.
2-0.
Lucky.
Outside for ball 3.
He's about to blow my phone up. You watch. And that's the great thing. People misunderstand that. People think that when they text us during a broadcast that they're bothering us. That is completely not the case. We look forward to that. We ask you to be a part of it. Please send us a text. Join us in the chat room. Tell us where you're from, whose player you're following, that whole ball of wax. Birthdays, anniversaries, your dog's birthday, you name it. We do it all.
Everything's fair game.
We're equal opportunity offenders.
3-1 the count to Blake Sanders.
I just threw Keith under the bus for myself. I'm not sure if I should have done that.
Ball 4, runners at first and second, trying to get a little 2-out magic. It will be the left fielder, Drew Indris. And first, the visit to the mound by Heath McKay. I don't see any action down there in the bullpen. This must be a We'll settle down here and get these outs.
So Blake Sanders has reached twice, both on a free pass. And I think that's what Coach McKay's issue is you walked a guy, you got out of it on the put out, right? You got away with it on the base hit by Biscuit, but here you are with 2 outs and a runner on, and you walk Sanders, who's the 8-hole hitter, to get to the 9-hole hitter, which is interest. And even if Drew gets out here, you're still starting with the top of the lineup in the next half inning. That's what the issue is.
Because you want to make sure that you're facing the 9 hitter instead of the leadoff hitter.
Now back for Fort Mill. Number 6, Drew Idris.
A lot of space between the left fielder and the line out there. If Indris can find a way to get it out there. The pitch. Swing and a miss.
Oh, Big E, man, you are the life of the party. Brother, I love you to death, man. These are the times I almost wish I would have been the voice of the Clover Blue Eagles.
Swing and a miss. Home run cut by Indris.
Because we would have gotten absolutely nothing done professionally whatsoever. And I tell you, the crew is great, from Eddie Biscay to Ryan Chiz to Brandon, who's Nico's stepdad, the whole lot, man. They know the game. They're like us. They're addicted to it.
0-2 stays high to Indris.
And listen, there's a lot of things that you can be addicted to in this world that are not good for your health. Maybe baseball is one of them, but it's certainly better than the alternatives.
You're exactly right about that.
My wife tells people that, actually.
Swing and a miss for strike 3, and that'll end the inning.
No runs for Fort Mill on 1 hit. No errors, 2 men left. We head to inning number 5.
No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 2 men left on base.
Fort Mill 2.
And we head to the top of the 5th with your score remaining. Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Challenge here from Fort Mill High School.
Nebraska, LSU 2.
We'll be right back.
Tennessee 1. Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Clear from
Jigger Pankowski comes into the game. He'll probably replace Gabe Simmons in the lineup. Drew Brink slides over from second base to shortstop. And Kyle Knoll will face Cam Miller, Trig Browning, and Carson Cabbage here in the top half of the 5th inning. Lazy. Yes. That brings up the first baseman, Brock Fowler. Fowler. Always a tough name for me. I don't know why that is. I would have to agree with that. Them and the Baltimore Orioles have been huge surprises. And Pittsburgh Pirates to a degree, but that division's terrible. Look at Cincinnati, though. Bosquet thought that might have hit the outside corner, but it stays outside for ball one. 1-2 now the count on Fowler. And you're exactly right. They're just like they're the New York Yankees of the National League, loaded with talent, but just can't seem to get over that hump. And that ball's hammered out into center field, and Barshaw's going to have to leave that one in front of him. A one-out base hit for Brock Fowler, and that brings up the right fielder Jacob Vanderhave. Oh, that is Carson Cabbage. My fault. Yeah, I'm all out of sorts. That was Trig Browning that with the base hit for the Queen City Mustangs. I kept thinking Fowler and then Vanderhave. But first, Cabbage, that curveball drops in there for a strike 0-1. I had a discussion with a Reds fan earlier today and talked about how they're a couple of years ahead of schedule, it seems like. But they're starting to look pretty good right now as well. The 0-1 catches the outside corner for strike two. Yep, you were correct. I have to make mention. And I did tell them I would probably be downtown at 9:30 tonight. Probably maybe 9:35, as easy as it is to get there from here, fortunately. Fashionably late. Exactly. 2-2 now, the count to Carson Cabbage. High pop, and Bosquet will get it in foul territory for out number two. And Cabbage wishes he had that pitch back for sure, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Brock Ballard. Plan B. Biscuit goes and talks to Noel out on the mound, and now we're ready to see Brock Fowler face off against Kyle Noel. does not stay inside enough for ball one. Two outs here in the top of the fifth inning. Queen City Mustangs lead Fort Mill Post 43 3-2. Humming right along. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. That was a home run cut by Brock Fowler.
As a public address announcer, it is a very sinking feeling when you hit your inline switch and the mic doesn't go hot and you look down at your transmitter and the green light is off.
Ooh, yeah, you don't like that.
And normally, I'm a little surprised because normally and it's a Shure microphone. This is a professional setup. We don't do anything half you know what around this joint. We try to do it the right thing by the listener. If the runner takes off for a second,
running.
pitch a swung on and miss, and that'll be a stolen base. I think that's Browning, is it not?
It is.
Anyway, where I'm going with that is that normally with this thing, it'll be green and then it'll turn red. And when it turns red, you have roughly 30 to 45 minutes. This thing just went from green to...
Well, it has been worked pretty hard today. The 2-2. Stealing again. Busquet cannot get it down there. Two stolen bases now for Trig Browning. And he's at third base with a full count. And that seemed to catch Fort Mill off guard.
Well, one-run game and a great at bat here. So, yeah, probably did catch them off guard a little bit. But aggressiveness from Coach McKay.
The 3-2 pitch. It's a high, towering fly ball. It gets out into right field, and it looks like the catch will be made. Barely. It looked like that was a little difficult for Blake Sanders, but nonetheless, he ends the inning.
No runs for the Mustangs on one base hit, no error, and a man left. We head to the bottom of the fifth inning. Score remains Mustangs 3, Fort Mill 2.
No runs, one hit, no errors, one man left on base. We head to the bottom of the fifth. And score is the same. Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge at Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back. Ryan Hawkins on the mound for the Queen City Mustangs here in the bottom of the fifth inning. And he's going to face Eli Craddock, Jonathan Barshow, and Jigger Pankowski here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Fort Mill trails 3-2. And you hate to use that phrase in a one-run game, but it's getting late early here.
Yeah, and big ups to the home plate umpire who was frantically trying to get my attention, which is like pulling teeth with no anesthesia.
Ball way up high, ball one. Eli steps out of the box and readjusts his batting gloves and gets back in. 1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss for strike one, and he was way out in front of that one. It looks like the new pitcher, Hawkins, doesn't have quite the speed that the previous pitcher Aiden Christmas had. That breaking ball down low for ball 2.
Eli's 0 for 2 in the ball game, so he is the team leader in base hits, I believe. Actually, I can look that up, and I probably should look that up
2-1 up high for ball 3.
before stating that as fact. It's either him or Nico.
Nico has a ton of hits, that's for sure. Three-one, and he hammers it out over the left fielder's head, and that'll be a double.
Eli's going to hit the pillow at first, and he's going to go running into second base with a stand-up double. Attaboy, Eli. That was a bullet.
Nice piece of hitting, and Eli timed him out to drill it down the line. Here comes Barshow.
Walking in play for Formula Post 43, center fielder number 8, Jonathan Barshow.
Last Santos goes out to the mound to talk to his pitcher real quick.
And by the way, just to confirm, that was Eli Craddock's 13th base hit of the season. Here's a surprise that I would not have guessed. Nico Bartolotti is second, yes, but tied for second with Scott Young.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have guessed that either.
No.
I would have thought maybe Gade.
Gabe is actually in fifth behind Zach Jennings.
Barshow hits a towering fly ball out into right field, and that's going to be trouble. But the catch is made, and that's a great backhanded catch there by the second baseman, which I can't see who that is, who came in to replace Hawkins, who went to the mound. But regardless,
I think it's Vander.
Vanderhave at second base.
Fort Mill Post 43, number 9, Jager Penkowski.
Cheeseball steps in there with one out here in the bottom of the fifth inning.
And I gave him Gabe's walk-up song.
I'm sure Gabe was down there boogieing in the dugout. The pitch. Swing and a miss by Jager. Penkowski now moved into the lineup at second base. And Drew Brink moves over to shortstop. 0-1 the count. Stays inside and catches the corner for strike 2. 0-2 now on Penkowski. One out here in the bottom of the fifth. Queen City leads Fort Mill 3-2. The pitch. Swing and a miss, and first base is open. The catcher will throw down. That'll be out number 2. First strikeout of the night for Hawkins. And that'll bring up Scott Young.
Now batting for Fort Mill, first baseman number 24, Scott Young.
And my apologies to Cheeseball for giving him Gabe's walk-up song. I need
Hopefully
to
he
get
gets an
myself
opportunity.
together.
Hopefully he gets another opportunity to have the correct walk-up song later in the game.
That would be nice.
Scott Young stands in there, and you want to talk about somebody due. Here he comes. I'm waiting to see him smash that ball way up high, ball 1. Not anything Scott is going to swing at.
And you're right. If Fort Mill's going to tie this ball game up, going to have to do it with 2 outs. And Scott Young sent one to the wall in the first and struck out swinging in the third on a check swing.
And he swung out of his shoes, if you will, to even the count at 1-1. That was a home run cut. Scott wanted to take the lead on that ball right there. 1-1 the count to the P43 first baseman.
He doesn't have to swing that hard. He's country strong. He's just built stocky.
Runner going, and the ball was there, but it was off the bag. Stolen base there for Eli Craddock.
Yep, Eli is sneaky quick. And if you don't pay him attention at second base, he'll take a foot, and then another, and then another. And the next thing you know, he's gone. You cannot, you can't do that to Eli Craddock.
Beep, beep.
He will steal your lunch money, and he won't apologize either. He is aggressive on the base paths. You have to keep an eye on him. A lot of people will throw to second base just to keep Eli honest. and Hawkins didn't, and it cost the Mustangs 90 feet. Now, can Fort Mill create a little 2-out magic here with a full count as the home plate umpire is verifying said full count?
Young cocks that bat. Here comes the pitch. Down in the dirt. And that makes it 3-2. So
it must have been 2-2, but I could have sworn to you that the umpire held up
I did
3-2,
too.
and now Coach Skula is going to come out and ask. I think that the count was 3-2. I really do, and I think that's what Tom is asking right here. Normally, I will give way to the umpire, and that and Tom was right. And rarely do you see that, but he politicked his way into a walk, and that is the correct call, by the way. So, by the way, big ups to the umpire for saying, "Hey, my
I made
bad,"
that mistake,
making
right.
sure that the call was correct, not necessarily standing on principle and going, "I'm never wrong," because there are some that are that way, but this gentleman, no. He basically forgot that of pitch, and that happens. I mean, everybody's human. It's been a long day for everybody. Remember, this umpiring crew has been out here this afternoon all day long as well, out in this heat, right? So it's been 2 different crews. So this hasn't exactly been a walk in the park for these gentlemen either. And they've got the baby blue shirts on, and you can tell that it's soaked through, even though it's not that warm tonight. It is humid, so it's been a tough sledding here. But here's Zach Jennings.
Batting for Fort Mill, number 5, Zach Jennings.
Runners at the corners here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th inning, and now the Mustangs manager calls timeout, and everybody will gather around. And while he goes out to talk to his pitcher, we'll take a break for station identification. You're listening to the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Zach Jennings now comes set in the box. Runners at first and third with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning. The pitch almost hits him. Ball 1.
And Zach just drops the bat and looks at Coach Scullin and the catcher like, what the heck?
He did. He had that glance over there to the dugout.
Zach has popped out and walked.
Swing and a miss for strike 1.
He fouled it into the glove of the catcher. He was trying to send that one back to old Tiga K. And I'm trying, is it Norwegian for Beautiful Peninsula? I think that's right.
Yeah. 1-1. Curveball drops in there for a strike. 1-2 now.
Jonathan Romano being a cheerleader over there in the third base coach's box. Joel Riley, coach over at first base.
1-2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. And Hawkins gets out of it, striking out 2 in that inning.
1 hit, no errors, 2 men left on.
No runs, 1 hit.
Score remains
No errors.
Mustangs
2
3,
men left on base. We head to the
Fort
top of the 6th inning with your score remaining. Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back. I want to quickly announce the 2023 sponsors of Fort Mill Post 43 Baseball. Carter Lumber, the jersey sponsor. Valentine and Beyond Moving. Palmetto Family Hearing. Shelco. Allstate Carla Endress. Founders Credit Union. Comporium. Allen Tate Realtors. Sonny's Real Pit Barbecue. Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thank you to all of our sponsors this year. And folks, please support those that support Post 43 Baseball. Kyle Knoll comes in for his third inning of work, top of the sixth inning. And Fort Mill's going to need to get on the offense once they get back into the dugout here. But first, Knoll will be facing Vanderhave, Santos, and Shuda here in the top of the sixth inning. Knoll finishing his warm-up tosses here. And Scott Young will fire down to second base where Drew Brink is waiting for it.
Bring up the top of the next inning for Queen City, second baseman number 19, Jacob Vanderhage.
Vanderhave moved positions from right field to second base. And Biscuit comes back to the dish. And we're about ready for the top half of inning number 6.
Is out in right field for the Queen City Mustangs. It says City Boys across their chest, and they are definitely that. And boy, can they play baseball. That ball is hammered. Way out to right field. Blake Sanders now right in front of the track. That ball died.
That did die. It sounded really good off the bat.
I thought it was out of here. I ain't going to lie.
That would have been a nice Oppo home run there for Vanderhave, but instead a very long out.
You see the catcher number 6, Laz Santos.
Laz Santos steps in there with one out here in the top of the sixth. That was a very long fly out to Sanders. But Sanders didn't panic out there.
That ball was not curling back towards Sanders, though. It had more straight trajectory just right out into the gap. And the football practice field is beyond the right center field wall. There's a set of uprights. If you hit the ball in between those uprights, it will fly out of here through there. So that's why I'm really surprised.
Swing and a miss by Santos, quickly 0-2. The humid air of Fort Mill, South Carolina keeps the ball in the ballpark. And there is no wind virtually out there at all.
Welcome to the middle of June in the Palmetto State.
The 0-2 from Knoll. That's a towering fly ball, and Scott Young will get under it for out number 2. That gets us back to the top of the order, and the center fielder, Daniel Shuda.
Back to the top of the order for the Mustangs, the center fielder number 20, Daniel Shuda.
You can hear a pin drop out there right now. A lot of people must have had a very long day out here at the ballpark. Knoll delivers. Catches the outside corner for strike 1. Both these teams back out here tomorrow. The Father's Day special at the American Legion Challenge. Swing and a miss for strike 2. And Knoll looks like he's finally settled down. He's in his groove.
Yeah, Kyle's looking more and more comfortable out there, commanding the mound. And his mound presence is also something he took a lot of pride in the offseason and working through that. And I know that sounds trivial or put on. It's not. Your mannerism out there on that mound, it's paramount, right? So that the batter can smell it. The other team can see it in your body language. And Kyle's body language is a lot different from last year to this year. And he did a great job last year, but he's now out there. He's more confident. The way he carries himself with his shoulders and the way he holds his head up. It's more like when he strikes somebody out, it's not very apologetic. It's, you're welcome. It's I'm out here to get you out, and I won.
That gets down to Eli at third base. He fires across the diamond for out number 3. No runs, no hits, no errors, and no man left. Head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. And it's Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here at Fort Mill High School, presented to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Drew Brink, Hunter Busquet, and Blake Sanders due up here in the bottom half of the sixth inning with Queen City leading Fort Mill 3-2. Ryan Hawkins still on the mound for Queen City. He's in his second inning of work. Allowed no runs so far. And I stand corrected. Tyler Nee now on the mound, and it looks like Ryan Hawkins has gone back to second base. Nice throw down by the catcher, Laz Santos, and we're ready to get underway here in the bottom of the sixth inning.
Leading up the bottom of the sixth inning for Fort Mill Post 43, second baseman number 1, Drew Brink.
And I said second baseman Drew Brink. It's actually
Shortstop.
Drew Brink.
Hammers that off to the left side, foul, strike one.
Mr. Simmons exited the game, and Mr. Brink moved over to short, and that put Cheese in the lineup.
He fouls that one off to the left side quickly in the hole 0-2.
And Jager take up shop at second base. And I have moved my walk-up songs around, so I won't make the walk-up song mistake again, at least not tonight anyway.
The ball stays low for ball one.
I make no promises about tomorrow.
We'll be bright and refreshed.
Sure, something like that. We'll be something.
Maybe I'll get more than 4 hours of sleep tonight. Not likely.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
The 2-2 pitch. Catches the inside corner for strike three. First strikeout of the night for Tyler Nee, and that brings up Hunter Busquet.
For Fort Mill, the catcher number 12, Hunter Busquet.
The always dangerous Hunter Busquet steps in there against Tyler Nee. We had some laughs about. And that's down the left field line, just foul.
Oh, boy.
That looked like it got over the bag from here.
I think it did. I think that ball was a scalded dog that went over the bag, and Jonathan Romano in the third base's coach's box like a tiger on the prowl. He wants to say something, but he knows he can't.
He is saying so. Well, no, he's not. He's just grabbing the ball.
Oh, he is. He actually walked over to the third base bag and looked down the line.
That did look fair to me.
That would have put Biscuit out at second base. That would have been the tying run in scoring position, nobody out. Or one out, I beg your pardon.
That curveball drops in there for strike two. That was a big bender there by Nee, and Biscuit didn't like it. Blake Sanders on deck for Fort Mill Post 43. The 0-2 pitch. He wanted to take a look at it, but checked his swing, ball one.
And we've had some adventures tonight with check swings.
Yes, we have.
I've seen more check swings called a strike in this game than I have in the last month combined, and that's the truth.
I would have to agree with you on that.
And whether they were check swings or not, again, 50-50 could go either way. Without a vantage point of right there on the side, who knows?
hits it down to third base, and Cabbage throws it over to first in the dirt, and it goes into the dugout or away from the dugout. Biscuit getting down to second. He's going to keep going.
So it's a difference in scoring. So instead of a base hit for Mr. Busquet, just call it an error. But it's 6-1 and half dozen the other.
The result is the same. There's a runner at second base for Fort Mill here in the bottom of the sixth.
There'll be a courtesy runner for Biscay, I would imagine. And there will be, and it's going to be your boy Lane Ross.
Very nice. Lane Ross on the base paths, and Nate Foe graduate.
Post 43, number 13, Lane Ross.
Good to see Lane on the base paths.
The right fielder, number 7, Blake Sanders.
Blake Sanders up to the plate. One out here in the bottom of the sixth. Fort Mill threatening to tie the score here against Tyler Nee. That pitch catches the outside corner for strike one, and I've noticed that the east-west has kind of expanded a little bit as the game's been going on.
It has. It was north-south, and now it's gone east-west. You're right.
Oh. Fouled off the umpire.
Caught the catcher's mask and then banged off the mask of the umpire, who just looks at head coach Tom Sculo of Fort Mill and says, "I need 3 new baseballs, please."
I thought he was telling him he needed 3 massages after that.
Or 3 margaritas. Not really sure.
Ball stays inside for ball 1.
What's your poison of choice, sir? Here is our plethora of choices for adult beverages. Oh,
that
what a pitch.
That curveball was nasty. Oh. That'll be strikeout number 2 for Tyler Nee, and that brings up the right fielder, Blake Sanders.
Next up for Fort Mill Post 43, the left fielder, number 6, Drew Indris.
Pardon me, Drew Indris.
Pitch pounds in there for a strike.
That was Blake Sanders that was retired, my mistake. Drew Indris trying to tie this ball game up here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2 outs. That catches the outside corner, and he is placing the ball at will here, Tyler Nee is. Swing and a miss, and that is Nee striking out the side. No runs, no hits, no errors, or 1 error, pardon me. 1 man left on base. We head to the top of the 7th inning. Queen City 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here at Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by MixLR. Be right back. Top of the 7th here from Fort Mill High School. Queen City Mustangs leading Fort Mill Post 43 3-2. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Ryan Hawkins, who was the previous pitcher, is now back at second base. He stands in there to lead off the top of the seventh inning. He'll be followed by Cam Miller and Trick Browning. First pitch. And that's fouled away to the right side. And looks like there's a pinch hitter out there. Oh, actually, that's Tyler Nee. So I'm ahead of myself. Hawkins, Nee, Miller. Yo, one pitch. Fouled away, strike two. The ball's getting waxed. The 0-2 pitch. Fouled away again to the right side. Hawkins down there. Staying alive. Staying alive. Terrible voice, but a face for radio. The 0-2 pitch. A little bit inside for ball one. Great play by Drew Brink. He's off the bag. And that's the correct call. And that was a bullet, almost got through to center field. That was a great play by Brink, sliding to his left and getting up and firing it over to Young almost in time. Me too. Is it really? Wow. I can't believe that. Squares the bunt, and that's a strike. And that glove popped. One the count now to Tyler Nee. Throws over to first base. Not in time. Curveball does not stay over the plate, apparently. Looked pretty good from here. 2-1 now, the count. Noel takes the sign. Here comes the pitch. And he hits a towering fly ball out into the left side. That's in no man's land. Drew Brink about catches it, but it lands foul. Mm-hmm. Two the count now to Tyler Nee. And he hits another towering fly ball, but that'll stay in the field of play. Drew Brink calls everybody off right behind second base for out number one. That brings up the designated hitter, Cam Miller, who is responsible for the lead being in Queen City's favor right now with a 2-run home run back in the third. That curveball drops in there for a strike, 0-1. The 1-1 pitch to Miller. Down in the dirt, and Biscuit had to grab that quickly, and he prevents the runner from advancing to second base. 2-1 now the count. That's a difficult play to make back there. The 2-1. Outside for ball 3, so it went in the other direction there. Now Noel's going to have to battle back against a very dangerous hitter in Cam Miller. That's who it looks like from here. 3-1 pitch. Fouls that one away to run it full. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a little dribbler down the line. Noel takes the sign from Biscuit. Comes set, and Cam Miller calls time. Here it comes. Ball 4. No action down there in the dugout right now. But Biscuit will go out there. Trick Browning, the left fielder, coming up. And now here comes the... Oh, no, that's just some balls by Coach JR. Tight ball game. You don't want this thing to get away from you before you get your hacks in the bottom of the 7th. Yeah, he probably did. And that's a called strike, 0-1. Right down Tom Hall Street for strike 2, quickly 0-2. The hole that Browning is in. The 0-2. And that's exactly what he did just there. He hits a ball out in the left field that'll score a run. The lead will increase to 4-2. A 1-out RBI single by Trick Browning, and that'll bring up the third baseman, Carson Cabbage. And that'll bring the visit to the mound from JR. And he did not bring the hook with him, surprisingly. But any other runs here with one out in the seventh will be earned. Mm-hmm. Carson Cabbage comes to the plate. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, and he had a home run cut. Much maligned for sure. The 0-1 from Kyle Knoll. And that's fouled away quickly 0-2. And Knoll's been getting ahead in the count 0-2, but not been able to finish the job here in the seventh. Swing and a miss by Cabbage, and that time he finished it. 2 outs here in the top of the seventh inning, and that'll bring up Jake Reichert, who's coming into the game in the sixth inning. And he's playing right field now, I believe. The first pitch to Reichert. And he hammers it down the left field line, foul. Top of the lineup. The 0-1 pitch. Stays a little bit inside to even the count at 1-1.
Movement is on Kyle Knoll's pitches, especially when he throws that slider, because it's breaking on one plane and coming all the way back inside. There's the fastball, again, that has arm side run to it. 2 balls and a strike is the count here to Mr. Reichert. And where I'm going with that is that sometimes that much movement, again, it makes it harder for the catcher, but also sometimes can fool the batter. They think it's going somewhere, they give up on it, and it comes in a different spot.
And that ball's hammered foul to even the count at 2-2.
So deuces are wild. 2 runners are on. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and the Mustangs lead by 2.
And Fort Mill has 2 runs. Go buy your winning lottery tickets today at your local Circle K.
I'm sorry, but the Georgia, today could be the day.
It could be.
If you're a Braves fan, you have seen that commercial ad nauseum.
Hits it back up the middle, and it gets through for a base hit, and they'll score another run. It'll be 5-2 Queen City. And things are starting to get a little dire here for the P43s.
So we've already had one visit to the mound. Will they let Kyle Knoll try to finish off this half inning?
There's no movement down in the dugout yet, and it looks like the guys that were in the bullpen are still down there just kind of watching. And that'll bring up Jacob Vanderhave, the right fielder. 5-2 the score now. Fort Mill in a big hole here in the seventh inning.
And you never are in a situation where you're just giving up. I don't want to make it sound like that, but sometimes you have to look at the situation and say, hey, do we let the pitcher try to figure this out, try to work their way out of it? Now it's a 3-run lead. There's still one game tomorrow, and it's been a really long week. right? So this is the 5th game in 5 days for the P43s. Game number 6 in 6 days is tomorrow afternoon. So you have to look ahead as a pitching staff as that one bangs the inside corner for strike one. I'm not saying what they should or shouldn't do. That's not what I'm saying. That's above my pay grade.
Right.
But what I am saying is you have to keep an eye on today with an eye on tomorrow.
Fouled away to make the count 1-2.
And if you think about the way the rotation has gone, right? Riverjoy, he's out. Chiz, he's out, right? So you start going down the list. Hanson is now out. Kyle Knoll will be burned. So now you're down to maybe a Corcoran, an Iverson, Pankowski.
That ball hits off the pole by the netting. That made quite a sound.
And I'm not trying to make any of those guys sound like chopped liver. What I'm saying is that you want to make sure you have enough arms because tomorrow afternoon's game is not an easy task either, and you don't want to go into it with only 2 or 3 guys available. You want to have as many as you can because it could be one of those 10-9 kind of games. You might need them.
Stays inside. The count evens at 2-2.
It was 3-2, now 5-2. And Queen City coming from behind again. They did it earlier this afternoon against Florence.
That catches the inside
Bang.
corner for strike 3, but not before Queen City scores 2 more runs. And we head to the bottom of the 7th with the score. Queen City 5, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina-South Carolina American Legion Baseball Championship Challenge, on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Last chance for Fort Mill P43 as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning with Queen City leading 5-2. And the new pitcher, Carson Cabbage, comes in and he'll face Eli Craddock, Jonathan Barshow, and Jagger Pankowski. Laz Santos with a strong throw down to second base. And we're about ready to get underway here with Eli Craddock.
Eli Craddock.
Eli, one of the walking wounded from last night, has stayed in the game all day. He had a little bit of difficulty on that line drive at first base or the first inning that he picked up. But since doesn't look like he's winced at all in pain. Carson Cabbage, an imposing figure on the mound right there. He throws a fastball right down the middle for strike 1.
Baseball players get banged up and banged up and banged up some more. Especially, I know it's only week number 2 and it's nearing the end of week number 2. It does not take long. You go sliding into bases, you basically making plays. It's your arm, it's your leg, it's your hand. In some cases, it can even be your feet, your toes. You foul a ball off your foot, all kinds of stuff. And none of it's excuse. It's just you're beat up, you're banged up, but the reason you work out, the reason you run, the reason you do all that hard work is situations like this, deep in a ball game, trying to make a comeback.
The ball high for 3-1 on Craddock.
Or as the old saying goes, ripping victory from the jaws of defeat.
Yes. That's fouled back, and that'll run it full 3-2.
Heads up.
Or if you're a North Carolina basketball fan like I am, you rip victory or defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Yeah, man. It's Herbert Davis, man. Bless his heart.
3-2 pitch. And he rips it out into right field, and it's going to get down.
Nice job by the right fielder, though. I think he knew at the last minute if he dove for it, it was going to roll to the wall, and he protected the free 90, right? You don't want to give up. You're going to give up the base hit, but don't give up anything more than that, and he did.
That'll bring up Jonathan Barshow.
Welcome to the plate for Fort Mill, center fielder number 8, Jonathan Barshow.
Barshow with the war club in his hand. Pankowski lurks on deck.
That ball fouled away, strike one.
I'll tell you this much. If there's one thing that we've seen Jonathan Barshow do, you want to throw him on the outside corner? Fantastic. I'm just going to serve it to right field. Oh, you want to pitch me inside? Let me hit it out of the park for a home run. He's just showing the range. And a lot of times you can say, well, if he's going to hit the outside pitch, we're going to bring it inside. But when they bring it inside and it's that fastball or that changeup, he just brings his hands in and that bat speed just right through the zone.
1-1 the count to Barshow. Swing and a miss. He had a home run cut there. 1-2 the count.
A little tardy. So he'll choke up a little bit on that bat. He just did. Now, and watch that front foot. It's going to spread out just a wee bit in the box.
Swing and a miss for strike 3. The first strikeout for Carson Cabbage. And that'll bring up Jigger Pankowski.
Next up for Fort Mill, number 9, Jager Pankowski.
One out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Queen City leading Fort Mill 5-2. And he fouls that one off to the batting facility for strike 1.
See what this fastball from Mr. Cabbage got some juice on it.
It does, and that means that the Fort Mill batters are looking a little tardy on the swings. The 0-1. Off and running goes
Eli Craddock.
And for a minute I thought he took one off the old melon there.
Well, and I think Cheese almost wore one right in the ear hole as that pitch was high and inside. So for Santos to even bring that baseball in and had a decent shot at getting Eli out at second base, that's just yeoman's work.
It is.
I mean, Laz really showing some athleticism. He's got a shy grin on his face because
He sure does.
He's thinking to himself, man, it was almost a hit by pitch. I got to come way out of my stance and fire a bullet to second. And Eli Craddock's no slouch. He can run.
He stands in scoring position here with one out and a 1-1 count to Jigger Pankowski. Catches the outside corner for strike 2.
Perfect pitch. On the black of the plate at the knees.
That's not one that Jigger's going to be able to get around on. So he let it go.
He throws it again. Just throw the hands through the zone and just serve it out to right field somewhere.
He tried to go back outside again. Ball 2.
Good eye there from Cheese. Earned that nickname back in middle school.
Two-two pitch. And Cabbage fakes down to second base, but Eli not biting.
And if you're Eli, there's no reason to be reckless out there. Don't run into
There he
another
goes.
out.
A hit and run, and Pankowski hits it out in the right field, and it's caught. And Eli sprints back to the bag, and the ball gets out in the left field, and here he goes down to third base. There's nobody covering, but there is now, and he gets back to second base. That was interesting.
That was heads up right there by Tyler Nee. The third baseman had to vacate the spot to go get that baseball, so Eli came touring out off the bag, and Tyler Nee won the race. So his knee got to the base quicker than Eli. Craddock realized he had nowhere to go and had to boogie back.
He did. He was in a dead sprint back to second base.
Now batting for Fort Mill, the first baseman, number 24, Scott Young.
Fort Mill down to its last hope, and Scott Young here, runner at second base with 2 outs in the bottom of the second. His team trailing 5-2. But I feel confident with Scott Young at the plate. Here's the pitch. Outside, stays out, ball 1. Cabbage is throwing hard.
Now
Jager got it out there in the right field, but just hung up there too long. That's a strike.
Scott Young has walked, struck out, and sent one to the wall back in the first.
I'd like to see him send one over the wall right here.
That would be nice.
Down to the dirt ball 2.
Wouldn't mind seeing him destroy a windshield out there in the student parking lot. Let Carla Indris at Allstate handle that broken windshield for you.
Ooh, way upstairs, ball 3.
Sweet chin music. Now, pitch high and inside changes the batter's eye level. Now, if I'm Scott Young, now I'm looking for something off speed and away.
3-1 the count to Scott Young. Here's the pitch. Upstairs for ball 4, and Fort Mill now in business here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Tying run comes to the plate.
Walking to the plate for Fort Mill, designated hitter number 5, Zach Jennings.
Zach Jennings now becomes the last hope for Fort Mill, but Scott Young being very patient up at the plate like we know he can be.
Obviously, you take just a base hit here.
Yeah,
In case you're wondering, does Zach Jennings have home run power? Yes, he does. Home game against Blythewood earlier this year, he sent one screaming over the left field wall. He has power.
And he wishes he had that one back.
Yeah,
He knew where it was going, and he just kind of half swung at it right there. 0-1.
almost like self-defense, you know?
It was. I love his aggressiveness.
But if you leave it over the inside corner and below the belt,
There it is. Will that get through? First baseman grabs it, throws it to Cabbage to end the inning and the
Ladies
game.
and gentlemen, that's the ballgame, the final
And the
score.
final score, Queen City
Mustangs
5
5,
and Fort Mill Post 43 2. And we'll be right back with some final notes here in the ball game. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here at Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back.
Fort Mill comes up just a little bit short. And so for the second game today, the Queen City Mustangs come from behind against one of the better teams in South Carolina and get a victory. Earlier today, it was against Florence, where Florence led that game 5-2, but then a 5-run uprising by the Mustangs, and they turned that into an 8-5 victory over Florence. That's only the second loss of the year for the Post 1 fellas from the PD region. And then today, Fort Mill had a 2-1 lead. Mustangs put up 3 more runs. It was a 3-2 lead for a long, long time. And then those insurance runs in the 7th, and people are like, well, it just made it a little bit harder. It does change people's perspective with their at bat, how they approach it, because if it's a 1-run game, as a pitcher, because here's the old saying, a batter can be wrong 3 times. A pitcher can only be wrong once. And you're one swing away from making it a tie ball game. But Cabbage came in, had some juice on the old giddy up, and he was pouring into Linda Ronstadt. He gets the save here for the Queen City Mustangs, who have flexed their muscles. The city boys from across the border have come into the Milltown and shown they're the boss.
They are, and they had two very difficult games today, and they shined with bright colors today. They get Rock Hill tomorrow. I believe that game is the first game tomorrow, isn't it? Rock Hill against Queen City at noon on Sunday. Then Rock Hill will face Davidson County to kind of warm them up for us against Davidson County at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. So 3 games on the docket here from Fort Mill High School in the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge. And now the score is, what is the score? 3-3, isn't it?
Oh, let me think here for just a second.
Because Rock Hill won today.
Yeah, 4-2, because Rock Hill did, they did defeat. Oh, good Lord, my mind just went blank. Cherryville. They beat Cherryville 13-5. So, and very surprising, Cherryville Post 100, a very proud program, a rich program, came into this challenge and they've gone 0-3. I would not have guessed that either. But here we are with South Carolina holding the 4-2 advantage, like you said. So all the marbles are on the table tomorrow, and I didn't know the stat that you gave earlier. I'll let you take the credit for that about who's won this challenge and for how long. You told me earlier today what this challenge was, and the record, you're looking at me like, what?
Like a deer in headlights.
I just threw you under the bus. North Carolina has won this challenge 6 in a row.
Okay.
Correct?
Yep.
I think that's what you said to me. 2016 was the last time the Palmetto boys took the North Carolina, South Carolina challenge. So it's been a minute. And obviously you have to factor in the years with COVID, but still, that's a long time without winning a challenge. So tough task tomorrow. But the simple fact of the matter is this. In this tournament, there are 9 games. So it's an odd number. Somebody's got to win. You got to get to 5. South Carolina's at 4. So Rock Hill could do it in the noon game against Queen City. Even if they stub their toe, Post 34 turns around and plays Davidson County and then Fort Mill. Just need Rock Hill or Fort Mill to win 1 game, and South Carolina will take the challenge.
Yes, and that is still a tall task, as we know. And Rock Hill is going to face a very good Queen City team who came out here and played their second game of the day against Fort Mill. And as we saw yesterday with Cherryville, that's kind of a disadvantage because you kind of run out of gas. And I think Florence had that same situation here against Queen City. Not to take anything away from them,
no,
because they are a very good baseball program.
Very good.
But then to come out here for a second game, and granted it's a little bit cooler than what they played in earlier, and come out here and beat a very good Fort Mill Post 43 team, yeah, hats off to the Queen City. And they'll have their hands full with Rock Hill tomorrow, but if they come out playing like they did today, then the Post 3-4s might have some trouble.
They really will. And the City Boys, hashtag City Boys, came in and flexed their muscles, and they will try to go 3-0 tomorrow afternoon against Rock Hill at noon, as Keith said. Now, a broadcasting note here. As you found out earlier today, not all the games are being broadcast. And the reason for that is just there's only 2 of us. There's only so much manpower, and we burnt the candle at both ends. I don't know about Keith, but I'm out of gas and basically running on fumes. So there will not be a broadcast at noon or at 2:30, but the Fort Mill game against Davidson County Post 8, the Hogs from Lexington, that game will be on YouTube. And it may be at 5 o'clock. It might be a little earlier or later. We will get the word out to everybody once we have a more concrete time. But Keith, hell of a day, man. A lot of fun. Yeoman's work. I appreciate all the hard work, my man. Great job.
It's a great time, of course. And as you mentioned, we won't be on the air for the first 2 games, but we will be here at the ballpark in case anybody wants to come by, say hello. We welcome any kind of feedback that you have, and we appreciate you all listening to us tonight.
And we do appreciate the kind words given to us earlier today. We really do appreciate that because, quite frankly, this is you fine folks are the reason we do this. We don't do this for the money. We don't do it for the fame. We don't do it for this, that, and the other. We do it for y'all. That's the reason we sit in these chairs. And honestly, that's the reason we do our podcast, is to get the word out about amateur athletics, prep sports, basically in the town of Fort Mill, South Carolina. And that's what we do the best we can. So basically that will be that as we move along. So we'll be on the air tomorrow afternoon around 5 o'clock as Fort Mill will take on Davidson County. Come on out to the ballpark if you can. You can get a day pass for only $10. There's 3 games, and there's some really good teams. But on
Three
behalf
high
of
quality games.
very high quality games. So on behalf of our athletic director Mac Banks, senior head coach Tom Skula, broadcast partner Keith Cook, I'm John Turner. Until tomorrow afternoon. So long, everybody.